Hi, my name is Terry Hagel. I am with the Aerospace Joint Apprenticeship Committee, and we are going to be going over the lab for your lesson tonight. It's on casting materials. So in the classroom, we really don't have the ability to take some steel and put it in a big crucible and melt it down and for an actual big casting, but we can miniaturize that a little bit, and we've got another casting source that we're going to use in place of like a sand casting instead of the sand, and we've got material that we're going to use that has a lower melting point that we're going to demonstrate. So the concept and the principles are the same that you're going to be learning in the lab tonight as they would be out in industry. As machinists, we have to cut blocks of material, and sometimes we have to get castings and forgings. So let's go over the materials that we're going to be using. First, we have to have a heat source. So we're going to have a propane torch and a striker to light it. In your kit, you've got a self-igniting torch. We've got a saw that we're going to be using to cut our mold in half, our mold material. We have electrical tape. This right here is the crucible. So what we have in here is we're using pewter because pewter has a very low melting point, and we just have one block for your class and a small crucible. In industry, you would have like a crucible that would hold several thousands of tons of material, but the principle is the same. And the casting material that we're using it's a cuttlefish bone from a cuttlefish. It's pure calcium, and it holds up very, very well to heat and materials. You can actually get several pores out of this same casting material. So we're gonna cut it in half. Once it's cut in half, it's gonna look like that. And then after we cut it in half, we're going to cut it down the long way, and then use that to put our mold in. There's a couple different ways we can do a mold. We can actually take an impression of an object. So let's say I wanted to make a new wedding ring. I could actually very carefully press this into the calcium because it's very, very soft. Or I could take a pencil and I could draw a shape. We're going to do the letter E and kind of make it like a necklace pendant. And for carving the casting, we're just going to use a piece of metal. You should have some finish nails, and we're just going to use that to kind of lightly scrape it away and be very careful and trace our outline so that it looks nice. You are dealing with heat and different materials, so I've got safety glasses on. I'm going to put on a pair of gloves. I've taken off my rings and my watches and that type of thing. We are pouring with molten metal, so when we pour the metal, what we're going to do is we're going to take this after your mold's done, and I've got a little cup. I put some finish nails in it to kind of weight it down. That's going to hold the material, and I'm going to do like a practice pour without any material. First, I'm going to have somebody heating up the material, and once it's hot, then I'm just going to pour it in about that fast, right into the funnel area. And you want to be careful, because if you do get spillage, you don't want to have your feet underneath where the material is at. So when we do this, we're actually going to be on the ground. In the lab here, we've got a nice concrete floor so we don't ruin the college's table. Depending on where your classroom's at, you might need to go out on the sidewalk. Okay, so let's get started. I'm actually going to take my gloves off for this first portion because it involves installing the saw blade. Now, this is a jeweler's saw. The teeth are really small, but if I rub it on, I can tell that the teeth are on this side and they're angled down this way. So I want to put it on the saw like that. So as I'm cutting down, that's where I'm going to open this one up. I'm going to slide the saw blade in. Tighten it up. Now I want to just put a little pressure on this just to hold this taunt. Tighten that up. So now it's in there pretty good. And my cutting teeth, so as I'm cutting, it cuts down through this. The cuttlefish bone here, you actually get two halves. Somebody can use this half and someone can use this half. There's a really soft side that's just got the calcium on it, and then there's the side that actually has the bone material. This is going to cut a little bit harder coming through here. I just want you to be aware of that. If you happen to drop this on the floor, it's going to break. So you want to be very careful when you do this. So I've marked my cut line. I'm just going to start here. See, I'm getting part way through there. I haven't cut through my finger yet, so that's good. And I'm just cutting as I pull backwards. It's the most efficient way actually to cut. Okay. Now, I broke a saw blade. That's going to happen, but this is the bone side over here, so we want to be just over on this side. So there's the bone. So I'm going to cut right in here. So I'm cutting through the nice soft material. Okay. So now I've got two halves. I'm going to use the thicker half to make my mark on it, but what I want to do first is we have to have like a funnel area. So I'm going to mark out kind of in the thickest area of this. I want to put my funnel, and I've got the two halves evenly matched together, and I'm just going to push this right down through here, right down the middle. Okay, now this is my thicker half. So now I'm going to open this up, but I'm going to draw my letter on here first. Okay. So I want to make the letter E. Something like that. And then I got to have some way to attach it. Now, because this stuff is really soft, you can just take this and scratch down through there. Right, so there I've got my basic E shape. Okay, and then I have to drill a hole into this to be able to attach it to a pendant. Now, as I come up this way, I'm going to carve this out. I'm just going to kind of push it in because I want a funnel shape. So now we got something like that. Okay. And because I matched that side, I'm going to clearance out the other side a little bit. Now when we put these together, I can hold them together, and I can kind of clean up my funnel area and make sure that it matches. So I end up with something like that. Nice good pathway for the material to go into. Now, when we put this together, what we're going to have is we're going to have a bunch of air in here and pour metal in it. We got to give the air a place to escape. So we do little sprues off of here, like this, that you just go part way. And they need to angle upwards. Later, you'll cut these off with the saw and clean them up. One thing they can't do is they can't go to the edge. Okay. Clean your mold out. Get it lined up so it seats on there exactly like it was if you hadn't cut it through. So you can kind of wiggle it around. You can see where it's pretty tight in there. Okay? This is critical because what we don't want is we don't want any of the molten pewter to escape. The electrical tape that you have, its only job is to hold your mold together. If it's not aligned perfectly and the pewter escapes, it will burn right through the plastic tape. But the electrical tape it's got a little spring to it. So we find is that works really good to kind of forcibly hold the mold. So we should have something like that. It's all held in there really tight. We got a nice clean funnel to go into. We've got little sprues for the air to escape. We're going to set this down in here. And I'm going to do a test pour, so I'm going to make sure I got this lined up so when I'm heating this up, I've got plenty of room to pour it right in there. About that fast. This is going to be a two-person job because one person needs to hold the torch and the other person needs to hold the casting material. But we've only got one person here, so you can see that the pewter is melting. Good and hot, so it's all melted. So it's about 10 minutes later. I've taken the tape off. So we'll open this up. So we've got our E there. And very carefully pull this out. See, it even takes along the characteristics of the bone. And so then what you have to do is take your jewelry saw and just cut off the excess.